My first topic today is the death, rebirth of Twitter.
That happens on an hourly basis now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And I have to admit, Elon Musk is just the most fascinating guy in business. Thank God he rolled around, because the previous one was Steve Jobs. And of course, he's been dead for 11 or 12 years now. And
Really?
so he needed somebody that interesting in the world of business again. And we've got it with Elon. And I think he's even more interesting than Jobs. And he's certainly more out there. You know, Jobs would just disappear for months at a time, even when he was healthy. Elon, I don't think that man sleeps. And I think he's like Trump. His Twitter app never, ever leaves his hand. He's
on there a lot, because when I came back to Twitter, I just decided I'm going to follow pretty much nobody. And but the one account that I made sure I was going to follow was Elon Musk. Yeah. And so my whole feed is filled with Elon Musk, either direct tweets or responses to other people's tweets. And the most recent one I saw was somebody who was commenting on kind of a technical issue, because Musk had tweeted out something like, the big problem with Android versions of Twitter is this kind of geek speak thing I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And then somebody else responded and said, I've been working on this project for 6 years, and that's not true. And Musk replied and basically said, okay, what are the actual numbers? You know, he didn't say, hey, how dare you cross the boss? He said, okay, if I'm wrong about that, what are the actual numbers?
And as far as I know, that's where the conversation ended in public.
I think so. Yeah.
So I think somebody got called on the carpet there, on the digital carpet there. So a couple of weeks ago, Musk fired, what was it, half of Twitter's employees?
They have about 7,500 employees, and it's said that he got rid of about half of them, yeah.
About half of them, so 3,000 plus. I think it was maybe a little less than half. So on, what night was this? I think it was on Tuesday night. He sends out, this is what he does. It's how he fired the first half, was by sending out an email at midnight saying, you know, I'll give you till the end of the day to check your email and stuff, and then you're out of here. But they got severance pay, 3 months of that. So they'll be fine. He sent out another one of these emails on Tuesday night. He was announcing Twitter 2.0. And when he says Twitter 2.0, I don't think he means the Twitter that we see when we're on the web or when we're on the app. I think he means internally. So, yeah.
Just like an internal structural way of operating?
Yeah, which, I mean, you're going to need when half your employees are gone. But this is the thing. What he said in this email was that only exceptional performance will constitute a passing grade for these surviving employees. But he said Twitter 2.0 needs to be extremely hardcore, and that everybody receiving this email would have till the end of the business day on, I guess that was Wednesday, to click yes, that they would agree to put in long, intense hours at Twitter 2.0. And something like by the end of Wednesday or Thursday, whatever that day was, what's today, the 18th? So Wednesday, I guess, something like 75% of employees had yet to click the yes.
Yeah, and he added something like, and I'm paraphrasing loosely, but exceptional performance is the new average.
Yeah.
You had me at only exceptional performance will be considered a passing grade.
Yeah,
that just made me. I felt a thrill go down my leg. And that's the thing I like about Musk. He's got a sharp crease in his trousers, and I admire that enormously. I like the cut of his jib. Like the cut of his jib. Now, seriously, that's why he's Elon Musk. An exceptional performance is their passing grade here. It's a pass-fail system.
Can you imagine the response on Twitter from all of these Twitter employees who were refusing to check the yes box? I agree to put in long, intense hours at Twitter 2.0. Doom. Absolute doom was all over Twitter. And of course,
there was a big story in either the New York Times or the Wall Street journal. I can't remember which one. It could have been the Washington Post. I don't know. But anyway, one of those mainstream media sources had quotes from, HR specialists and recruiting specialists and stuff like that, most of whom said something like, as the rest of the world is going to increasing work-life balance, here's Elon Musk basically saying, hey, we want you to work like hedge fund managers from the 1990s or something. He's expecting extraordinary devotion of time and effort for the company. And I think what he accomplishes there, and some of these people who were in general opposed to his chaotic management style said, was that if you want to upset the apple cart, this is the way to do it. And I think that he is continuing to make sure that the great shakeout shakes him out. He wants to make sure that people who aren't on board for massive change go away so that their lives don't become a living hell and his company doesn't go into bankruptcy.
I'd be willing to bet you, I don't know if he did, but I'd be willing to bet you on some level it would be an interesting experiment on his part to determine the length of time between when the email was opened and when the button was pushed. Because if I got that email and I was working for Twitter and I said, you're going to have to perform exceptionally if you want to stay here. Yes.
Boom.
I'd have it done in 6 seconds. And the longer it took me to think about it, the more suspicious I would be if I was Elon.
And you know what it's like? Bill, you just reminded me of something. I can't tell you how many times I've either read or watched Band of Brothers, but one of the things that I'm not sure made it into the TV show was something from the book, where interviewed after the war, the men of Easy Company were asked, why did you volunteer to be a paratrooper? This was one of the most dangerous jobs in the Army. And every single one of these guys said something like, I wanted to make sure that the guy in the foxhole with me was the best trained soldier.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Well, it's funny. I've read study after study after study that said that most employers get it all wrong when motivating employees. They think that the way to motivate employees is to create a country club atmosphere at work, or to talk about family and how we're all together as family, or to pad people's paychecks with extra dollars. No, the number one thing in almost every study I've seen is employees feeling like their job is significant, that there is serious challenge,
making a difference,
that there's opportunity to grow and to make a difference in the world. And that's what people are craving. And for some reason, employers seem to, have a kind of Charlie Chaplin Modern Times kind of view of things, where they think that everybody's just a cog in the machine. And if you're a cog, well, that must suck, so we better pay you more. And that's not what people are looking for.
Yeah, pays like fourth or something, third or fourth.
Yeah, and there was
they want to sit down and go, look at that, look at this awesome thing that we did. They sit around in the, in the break room or and just say, guys, we just went out there and just broke records and changed the world.
Yeah,
that's where you get a team. And this business about yes or no, you got to the end of the day is you're going to work your tails off. You're not interested in that? That's fine. Here's your 3 months pay. You've been overpaid already. Cry me a river. Learn to code.
What really got me, there have been so many great threads on the business aspects of this, and one of them was from Neon Taster Noah Bloom, who's just one of the sharpest guys on Twitter. He said Twitter basically had 2,000 people in product and marketing, and this is for a company with exactly one product.
That's losing money on sales.
Yeah. Engineering is the 5th highest average paying job at Twitter. Number 1 is marketing. Number 2 is HR.
Oh, dear God.
That's all below the line. That's all below the line stuff. That's expense. That's pure expense.
Yeah.
It's
HR
staging, baby. It's staging. You take if that first stage is empty, it's just dead weight. Cut it loose. Just cut it loose. Whatever's coming with you is coming with you. Anything that's not coming with you gets to fall back in the ocean. Not my problem. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Well, it's and even to do something that no CEO would do, because all CEOs are constantly trying to coddle the shareholders and say, "Don't worry, you're safe investment in our company. We'll be safe going forward." And Elon Musk is openly saying, "Hey, we might have to declare bankruptcy." Like he's just, I think there's no filter. Whatever he's thinking, we know within minutes. Either that, or he's very crafty and he's actually thinking something different, but floating the idea of bankruptcy might make people a little more circumspect who are internal critics of the company, who would not like to see all their stock shares lose value or suddenly be out on the street.
Nothing quite focuses the line like learning you might go bankrupt in the morning.
2-3 years ago, there was a failure. It was either on I think it was probably on one of the first Starship launches or something. And he said, like, either that afternoon or the next day, it's like, listen, at this rate, we're not going anywhere. We're never going to leave this planet. This whole thing's going to crash. If we don't get these pumps fixed, I want some solutions, and I want them now. Because if we don't do this, we are not going to get off of this rock. That kind of thing. And he put the whole dream on the line, He said, we will not be able to do this unless we get better at what we're doing. And they're already pretty good at what they're doing. That's why they succeed, man. It's not a big secret. It's not at all. Just keep pushing people to deliver their best. And I was in my 50s when I first heard this. But the Greek definition of happiness is using all of your abilities to your maximum potential. They said that's the ultimate form of happiness. And I heard that and I thought, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I saw an interview with him the other day where the reporter was asking him about a particularly tough time when both SpaceX and Tesla were on the cusp. SpaceX had just finally had their first successful launch, but if that hadn't worked, the whole company would have gone under.
They were done.
And the fact that it did work, it didn't save the company. It just gave them another day. Just let them keep going. Meantime, Tesla was experiencing massive problems. And Musk said, look, I had to decide whether to choose one of these companies and place a bet on it and let the other fall away, or whether to split my resources and sustain both companies at the risk of losing both companies. And I chose to split my resources and maintain both companies, which is just counterintuitive. Most people would have said, you know what, pick the closest thing you got to a winner, jettison the other, and keep moving forward. And the reporter said, wow, did you freak out and scream and cry? And I'm paraphrasing Elon Musk's response, but he said, well, no, I don't think I cried. My sleep was not as peaceful as it normally is.
I believe it.
But he was very, very casual about it. It was like, okay, what was the devastating emotional impact on me? And I know, like Elon, like me, probably is somewhere on the spectrum. But his response was, well, let me think. Yeah, I didn't have some of the more restful nights of my life.
Winners don't act that way. That's how neurotics act. And one of my favorite moments of the entire space program happened many years after the moon landing, where this journalist, I've told this story before, but it's just so good. This journalist, so when they're getting ready to, they've done their moonwalk, they've landed on the moon, Apollo 11. They're back in the LEM. They're getting ready for liftoff, and they've got their sample bag, and one of the two swings the sample bag around and breaks the button needed to launch the ascent stage. You can't launch it. It's not going to go. And so when a journalist found out about this, I think it was a young woman many years later, said to Buzz Aldrin, so when you discovered that this button was broken and it looked like you weren't going to be leaving the moon, were you thinking about what your last words to your wife would be? Were you worried about how you were you thinking about whether or not you would just depressurize the thing, or did you have like suicide capsules with you or anything? And he looks at her like she's from from bottom of the earth. Like, no, we're trying to figure out how to fix the button. You idiot. What do you think we're doing? Oh, it had a hardship, so I guess we should just basically just bail. It's never over till it's over, always.
By the way, the other headline I saw related to Musk, and this ties into a broader story that I've seen a lot of headlines on recently, and I read this story, was how what Musk just did was a challenge to the new meme of quiet quitting, where it's what used to be,
about some really loud firing.
Yes, it was people who would say, they basically are doing just enough not to get fired, and so that was essentially considered quiet quitting. And for a whole bunch of people who thought that they could cruise under the radar, basically Elon Musk just said the radar goes all the way to the ground and maybe a little bit below the ground. We see everything.
This is why this is
not because we're monitoring you, but because we're going to call you to action and see what you do.
This is what made America a great country, and the whole country has been quietly quitting for 40 years now. And to see somebody saying, no, those days are over. Your days in the meditation room for 2 or 3 hours while you're trying to think about what the new next marketing idea might be for your, no, get to work. If you don't want to work, then get out of here. That should be the motto of the country. Get to work or get out. And I'm just tickled to death. Now, I do have an opinion on one thing that you said, Steve, about Twitter 2.0. The thing that's exciting to me about this personally, given the business that we're in, is that when I first heard that when Musk had closed the deal, I'd heard, a story or two just kind of circling around it. But basically what the impression I got was what he was thinking about changing the Twitter format significantly to the point where Twitter would be carrying content. They would sort of become kind of like Instagram in that way, that you would be able to attach content to your tweets. And if he's talking about doing that, then that may solve the YouTube problem. Because if censorship leaves Twitter, everybody says, well, what about Rumble? And we post all of our members' content is posted on Rumble. All of our links go to Rumble, but there's nobody on Rumble. So Rumble suffers from the network effect. And the network effect is if you've got a network and there's nobody on it, the network has no value. But Twitter is an existing network. And if he takes Twitter 2.0 into the direction of we're going to keep it doing what it's doing, but we're also going to have the ability to append content to it, then we could find ourselves in a world where there is a social media platform that doesn't censor speech, has an existing enormous network, and yeehaw.
Steve, one of the interesting things about all the attention to Elon Musk and this firings of all these people and everything is that during the same week, Facebook fired many more people. Amazon fired many more people. They're laying them off, because of economic turmoil or whatever, but they're dumping people in huge numbers, far beyond Twitter. I mean, if Twitter fired everybody, they couldn't fire as many people as Amazon's firing in this round. So,
Twitter is a much smaller company. Yeah. And Amazon is laying off 10,000 people the week before Black Friday. I mean,
that says something. That says something.
That set a
What kind of people are they laying off? Are they laying off useful people like truck drivers, or are they laying off 10,000 marketing people?
As I understand it, it's office guys and gals.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're getting leaner, maybe.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And the thing is, this is, I think, maybe what fascinates me the most about this Twitter thing. I knew the company was in serious trouble, much more serious than I'd previously understood. When around the time that the Musk deal was getting finalized, some young 20-something, maybe early 30-something lady posted this video of her typical day at Twitter. I think, ironically enough, she posted it on TikTok, and it was taking the train into work. It was getting the latte from the espresso machine. It was having the catered lunch. It was a very brief bullshit discussion with her boss about some marketing thing that in which nothing was decided. Nothing happened. It was just one of those things. Grabbing the catered snack for the train ride home. And here was a highly paid young lady doing essentially nothing while enjoying nothing but freebies throughout her entire day. And all I could think was, if this is typical for the company, wow, are they in trouble? Well, apparently it was typical, and apparently it is typical no more, which is great. But if we find out, okay, how many people do you think it actually takes to keep a microblogging site operating? I'm going to bet it isn't that many people.
Well, if you're not surveilling people, I'm sure it's a lot fewer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and they had huge numbers of people in DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever. Yeah, you just huge numbers of employees doing that stuff. Huge numbers of employee moderation. Apparently, all this cruft has been thrown overboard, which is great. But now let's think about this. What are the broader implications for the Bay Area specifically and the tech industry generally when we find out how few people it actually takes to run one of these organizations?
You have to go to the Babylon Bee, man. The Babylon Bee did an article that said that U-Haul is building a high-speed bullet train from California to Texas. That's what your answer is.
And then once the train gets here, they just take it off the tracks and put it in a junkyard because it's cheaper.
Just dump everything off while it's still in motion, wrap it around a 14-mile radius loop so it doesn't have to slow down, and zoom that baby back out to California, empty.
Yeah, they only regret that they have to take it back to California.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the expense involved.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Shoot, when I moved to Colorado from San Francisco in 1994, it cost me $1,100 to rent the 19-foot Ryder truck, and I didn't have nearly enough stuff to fill even a small portion of that Ryder van. But that was the smallest one they had that could also tow my car. So that's one I had to get, and it was $1,100 for the truck and for the thing to tow my car with. And out of curiosity, after I got to Colorado Springs and I turned the van in, I asked, what would it cost me to rent this the other direction? He said about $300.
Yeah, it's much, much, much greater than that now.
And it's
they're actually paying. They're paying people to drive them back to California.
Yeah,
they are. Yep.
Well,
you're right about the
recently. I've discovered something which you guys, I'm sure, have been all over for years, and I've been aware of for years, and have occasionally looked at, but I've never really engaged with it because I just didn't get it. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't get this sooner. So to explain why, I've been looking for a new writing tablet because my writing tablet, one day my Chinese-made writing tablet just decided to delete all my content. And when I wrote to customer service and said, hey, how can I get this content back? I have no idea why it just vanished overnight when I wasn't doing anything with the tablet. They said, oh yeah, here, just do a backup of the contents of the device and email it to us. I'm like, no.
The device that just failed, you mean?
I am not emailing my personal notes and my, Bible notes and my journals and all that kind of stuff to China. I'm just not going to do that.
At least Zoom kept it a secret for a while that they were recording all of your stuff. These guys are like, no, just send it to us. It'll be fine.
So anyway, I decided I wanted to get a
espionage.
different tablet, either the Rada Supernote A5X, which is really a cool device, or the Remarkable tablet, which some people may have heard of, is probably the most popular of the note-taking tablets that have come out. And eventually, I made that choice. But what helped me a lot was Reddit. I found Reddit, if you're not familiar with it. I found several subreddits, which are basically like little communities of interest around particular things. And I've got about 9 different communities of interest in a single feed that I call e-ink. And so all they give me is information about this kind of geek toy that I'm really into. And so, and there's no politics on it. There's no because I'm sure there's a subreddit for people who want to, fight about politics, but I just wanted to know about this. And you can go on there and ask a question and say like I couldn't find, I have 2 pens for this device and the other one has no nibs. I bought it used. And I said, well, where do I get the nibs for this at a decent price? And man, 9 people immediately jumped in and said, here's what you can do. Here's what you can do. And I'm like, holy cow, social media that is social and helpful. And people want to encourage one another. And, sometimes people will go, hey, I just got my new Remarkable tablet. And, what's the best thing to do when you're first setting it up? And everybody, there'll be dozens of comments of people jumping in and say, make sure you do this, don't do that, watch out for this, And to me, it has become like the new Twitter, but without having to constantly police it for deleting people that I don't want in there.
Oh, yeah.
You're kind of new to Reddit, aren't you?
I am brand new to Reddit.
Well,
yeah. Be sure to tell them next time that the reason. Be sure to tell them next time that the reason you're working on this, that you're trying to get this tablet going, is so that you can make notes for your conservative TV commentary show, and then find out how unpolitical your.
I don't want them to talk to me about politics. I have enough of that in my life. I don't need to solicit the opinions of strangers.
All I'm saying is I have never seen a Reddit sub. I've never seen a subreddit ever that at some point did not continually post their political opinions on things.
Well, we'll see. Right now, I'm following 9 different Reddits mostly about the Supernote device.
Brother, I hope it works out for you. I really do.
The way I avoid it is I really only go to one subreddit, and it's called Warship Porn, and that's not pictures of ships doing it or people doing it with ships. It's just photographs of warships, old and new. And
I didn't know there was such a subreddit. That's cool.
It's great. But I only look at the pictures. I never go into the threads ever.
Yeah, don't read the articles.
No, I go to warship porn for the naked ships.
I just had a few bad experiences on Reddit in that regard.
Yeah. Well, so far so good for me. We'll see what happens.
Good.
Okay. Anything else on this topic, Steve, that you feel like you need that you haven't shared or questions you want to ask?
Yeah, I talked about the potential broader impact on the tech industry, and I think that's probably a good place to let it go, because that's a thing where we don't know anything yet. But the conjecture is kind of fascinating, maybe even a little scary. So sleep well if you're part of the tech industry and not actually a coder or engineer.
Well, if it's anything like the Hollywood, the famous screenwriting teacher said, nobody in Hollywood knows anything. And so
nobody knows nothing.
That's right.
If you want to send a message.
Sorry, I said it grammatically correctly. That was a mistake.
No, it's okay. That's what made it work.
Who was that? Goldman? Was that who was
Goldman? William Goldman.
Yeah. Who was
nobody knows
Morgenstern.
That's
S. Morgenstern, who wrote The Princess Bride.